Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. If you're hearing any tapping right now, that's Soon. He wanted to come in the room with me. That's my dog. He doesn't want to lay down in his new fluffy bed that we got him. Might let him out while I'm painting if he looks like he wants to go out. But he followed me all the way downstairs, so I'm gonna let him be in here for now. So if you can't tell from the title, this is the next step of my watercoloring. I'm going to be using this sponge to create shading on these snow cats and also on this hill here. In order to protect the painting I've already done, I put down strips of masking tape on the biggest part of Bear. This is a caricature of my cat Bear. And then for the outside part, I used masking fluid to paint in the rest. And once I'm all the way done painting, I'll remove the tape and I'll use this to remove the masking fluid. But now that this is all masked, I should be able to paint freely without worrying about messing anything up here, because once I remove it, it will remove any paint that's sitting on top as well. So I've got a fresh bowl of water over here, I've got my sponge, and I just got done looking up just what snowmen look like, how the shadows tend to fall. I decided that I'm going to shade these in a way that it helps bring the attention to the middle, so they're going to be darker on this side, almost as if Bear is the source of the light, but not too strong or anything. And then they'll also get a little darker as they go away. Let's see, just want to get this sponge wet. I'm going to wake up the colors I want to use. So snow shadows are a lot of gray, but I also really like when the sky shows up on the shadows and makes them blue in the snow. So I've got some gray here in my mixing part of my palette. And I'm going to add some, let's see, I'll do my second lightest blue color. Mix that in. And thin it out with a little water. So I don't want these to be too dark to start with. Okay, I'm gonna get my whole sponge wet so that it's more malleable. Since I'm gonna sponge in all the color, I want to be able to get as precise as possible while still using this nice texture. So I'm just gonna use this edge for the most part. And as for this here, I think I'll just do little shadows to show that Bear is sitting here, that these snow cats are sitting here, but nothing else too complicated. Oh yeah, this is nice and watered down. I'm just really roughly adding this in because I want it to be like the texture of snow, how there's always a little, no matter how smooth you make it, there's always a little bit of texture. By make it, I mean making a snowman. tap in a little texture here and there. The great thing about the way I'm doing this is I don't have to worry about whether I get paint on the background yet. I actually don't have to worry at all because since the snow is so light, and I'm going to be doing a much darker background to help these snow cats and bear stand out, I can just paint freely because it's all going to be covered up in the end. Like a conspiracy. No, not like a conspiracy, but there. Pretty good. Now, I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on the roundness, getting the roundness of these. Sim is laying on the hard floor because his bed is not directly in front of my space heater. I have it pointed at me right now. I'm just carefully looking at these, seeing how the overall effect is coming out. Adding wherever it looks like I need to add. Hair on my page. There's always pet hairs in here. Okay. Now, I want this to dry entirely before I add more shadow. So I will, in the meantime, mix a slightly darker color. Add some gray to my current color. It's still quite watery, so it should still look like snow shadows. Dry. There's a little. I'm just gonna have to wait till it dries. The thing, little kitty hairs, what I've figured out is this 300-pound paper, the texture on it really holds on to pet hairs. I've thought it before and I'm thinking it again that I need a pair of tweezers just for my art. Just keep with my art tools so I can tweeze off the little hairs. The reason I want this to be totally dry is because in order to get the most out of the sponging technique for texture, you've got to work pretty dry. Otherwise, it starts to meld together. So like as you can see here, there is a little of the sponge texture, but like right here, it all looks like one big painted area. I want to make sure to keep enough of that texture so it looks like nice rough snow. Still just a tad bit wet. It's not like shiny wet anymore. The paper is not shiny with the water, but you can still feel the dampness. you lose the texture because if the paper is still wet and then you put wet paint on top, it kind of feathers out, so you don't get that nice sharp edge. Just gotta wait. Just gotta sit and wait. Got my heater on high, so it's probably helping this dry faster. Something I'll probably have to edit out of the final digital version of this. So I've got a couple of gouge marks right here. And they were there when I started, but I didn't want to waste this sheet of paper, so it's expensive. So I decided to paint anyway, but now that I'm putting shadows down, they stand out more than ever. So I'll probably just use the clone tool and just cover those up. This doesn't seem like they show up on the camera at all. How are you doing, painting? I think it's good to do another round. Let's see. Since I'm doing the darker color, I'm going to be extra conservative with this and just use this edge. The darker color is mostly for the most shaded areas. It's important to keep turning the sponge as you work so that you don't. For me, the point of using the sponge is to get a really organic texture. So if you don't turn it as you work, it looks more like a stamp. And if that's what you're going for, that's just fine, but that's not what I'm going for. Alright, look out, son. I'm going to turn down my space heater a little bit. I was freezing at first, but now I'm quite warm, so no need to keep it high. That was Soon's jingle collar. She just did a shaka. Got up and did a shaka. Oh, I think he wants out now. We'll let him out. Already done in here, Soon. shadow here and some on this ear. To give it some dimension. I'm going to rinse this out and switch to a brush for a second while I let these patches dry. I need a paper towel for my hand. So now I'm going to use this color to paint these eyes. So my idea was to have them, they're not like something stuck onto the snow cat, it's just a deep impression in the snow. So using the same color as the shadows is perfect for this. I suppose I'll also do a little bit more hard shading underneath Bear. Since he's not made out of snow, he wouldn't necessarily be casting such a rough shadow. At least not in this part where it's super dark, in between all four of his legs. Try to soften this one's shading up just a little bit. Okay, now we gotta play the waiting game again. Just gotta let it dry. Looks like this this first eye has gotten at least to just the damp stage rather than fully wet. So hopefully these will follow. And of course it will, but hopefully it'll be pretty quick. I suppose I could put a little bit more super light, but add some darker texture to the main hill. I tend to like doing darker corners also, sort of like vignette effect, to also bring the viewer's eye into where the main feature of the piece is. Of course, a lot of this is going to be totally cut off anyway, but it always looks better if you work past where the final image is going to be cut, and then you don't get that look of like, that's obviously where they stopped, and there's like little undone bits that aren't as complete looking as the rest. Kind of hard to explain the effect, but I noticed it pretty early on. But it took me a few years to figure out, oh yeah, if I work on a sheet bigger than what I want the final image to be, then I won't have that problem. But now that I figured it out, I try to do it every time. Now I'm using just a relatively clean but damp sponge to soften up that extra texture. Do need a paper towel. I'm glad I brought a roll of paper towels down to my studio, just for my studio. I usually would go up to the kitchen and get them. This way I don't have to leave my room. There, paper towel from hand. This eye's still wet. This is still damp. I'm pretty happy with how the snow cats are turning out, but just areas here and there I think could do with a little bit more. Still damp. Still damp. Looking at the video is really helpful for being able to see what the overall effect is. Let me see where it needs a little more work. Fix my lamp a little bit. think that's pretty good. I think it looks like snow. Dry my hand with my paper towel for my hand. I am going to go back to the brush again for adding shadows underneath these sticks, these stick whiskers. So there are a few places that need some precision shading. Hand sticking to the masking fluid. This one's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to do this one first. I suppose I can do this side. Not wet on this side. Still quite damp. Just leave that. A little bit more dark shadow directly under there. Suppose I can do the eyes again too. Yeah, one more. And some little shadows, these whiskers. Hopefully it's dry enough. Looks like it. Just looking it over now. And make sure there's no snowy area that I don't maybe want to do a little more work on or something like that before I move on to painting the stick whiskers. Because once I go to that point, I'm not really going to be able to do the sponging technique anymore because there's a good chance it will smear it. Alrighty, I'm happy with that. Let us paint the sticks. I still have the brown color that I used from Bear. I'll just wake it up with a little bit of water and then it will be perfect color for the sticks, and it'll also help tie the sticks into Bear by using the same color. I'm going to start on this side because this one is still wet right there. Great thing about painting the sticks is they don't have to be necessarily the same color. So if I have to mix some more brown paint, it won't make that big of a difference about color matching. Someone's barking. I think there's another package being delivered. I already got 2 today. But he barks at other stuff too, like people walking their dogs down the street. Or sometimes people just walking themselves down the street. Once I'm all done with this bottom area, I'm going to mask it all off, at least all the snowcats in the top rim of the hill, so that I can freely paint the background without worrying about messing up anything that I've already painted. Seems like these ones are safe to work on. Just gonna keep going. Now, we'll wake up the darker brown that I also still have here and use it to shade these sticks. I'm not working with the idea of any particular light source, since I'm going to do the background and to see what I can do to make it like an aurora borealis. So technically I suppose the snow should have been much darker, but since it's an illustration I can do what I want. It doesn't have to be 100% realistic. I think this shading is really doing the trick and making these sticks look really believable. Or make it clear to the viewer that these are sticks. I add a little bit of highlight to these sticks after I'm done with everything else. Just add it with gouache to make them look a little bit shiny. But depending on how I feel when it's all done, I might not do that at all. Since they're not the feature of this piece, they don't have to stand out too much. To do one final little bit of even darker brown, just right where the sticks are plugged in. I'm just looking it over. I think I might be done with the main part I wanted to do. I did get these stamps, so I thought to make this a little more interesting, I would just stamp snowflakes in it. And I also got some cool glitter paint. It's acrylic. And I actually thought I would use the glitter paint on the stamps, but I should probably test it out before I do it on the main picture. I'll open these up while this is drying. Might also use the glitter paint on the background, since the reference photo I found I really liked had stars in it as well. You know, just glittery dots in the sky. So I got 3 sizes of snowflake stamp. I don't know if I'll use this one. The center is a little too concentrated. I don't really like these ones better that have the centers big enough that there can be something in it. And I wasn't really imagining snowflakes this small. This is more the size I was thinking, just because this piece is so big. But for variety, I might use both. Thinking about it though. I also don't know exactly how well it will work. Here's scrap paper. Because I thought of using both the glitter acrylic paint and some watercolor. Soon as barking away at something. Let's see, I'll get some gray. Nice gray. Soon still barking. I don't know what's going on. Probably okay. And let's add a little blue to make it more interesting. I'll use this really dark. Mix that in. Okay, I want more white. Sorry you can't see my mixing area. There's not enough room. The camera don't have a super wide screen. Or 2 cameras, that would be cool. Still need more white. I don't want it to be too overt, I suppose the word is. Okay, I'm just gonna try. Oh yeah, I don't think watercolor is gonna work with the rubber stamp idea. It's not staying on at all. You know, put a ton of it on. It stays on a bit, but I don't think it would be an obvious. Wouldn't be obvious what it is if I stamped it on. Let's just stamp it just 'cause. Yeah, no. No. Just gonna have to use the glitter paint. That was my original idea, so nothing wrong with that. Let's try glitter paint. Although all the glitter is at the bottom, does this say? It says apply generously with a foam brush. Well, I hope you work with a stamp. Try to shake it up. Get the glitter mixed in. Really doesn't want to mix. Come on, glitter paint. Oh, there goes a little bit. So I just gotta turn it upside down. There's a blop. There's a blop of glitter making its way down. never done anything like this on a painting before, but I always like to do different stuff. Like to have something new to experiment. Wow, it's exploding. Alright, clear acrylic paint all over me hands. Let's use this wet paper towel. Get that off. And get it off of there. So that the cap doesn't get dried on. So that will happen if you don't clean up your acrylic paints right. And good luck getting back in. Okay. And get a couple more paper towels. So I want to, I'll just use the end of a brush. Mix in this freaking glitter. It's all stuck at the bottom. Right, that's no good. My brush is totally sparkly now. Let's give it a try. I don't know if this is gonna work either. I don't know if it'll actually make a snowflake shape. It's because the acrylic is so thick. Oh well, that's why it's an experiment. Dang, it's not working like I thought. Alright, let's clean this brush off. How's that? Is that all clean? No more sparkles? Done with that paper towel. Try to clean my stamp off too. Might have to go rinse this off in the sink with running water. Give me just a second. I'll leave my be right back card on here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I think my snowflake stamp idea is totally off the table. That just didn't work at all. But that's what's fun about experimenting. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. Not knowing whether it will is what makes it interesting. I thought I heard a jingle just now as if one of my cats was in here, but I don't think they are. I think anyone snuck in. Carletta, welcome back! Yep, more stream. I just got done experimenting with this glitter paint and my rubber stamps, but they did not work together at all. Kiki! Oh, Kiki is outside of my door. She's meowing. That must have been the jingle I heard. Well, I do still want to use this. Like, I think it would be fun to put it in the snowcats. Why does it sound like someone is? Did someone sneak in? Hold on, I think one of my cats is in here. Bad girl! Ooh! She wasn't outside my door. She was in my window. This bad girl. I'm gonna go put her outside. Outside of my room. Bad girl. Man, she must have snuck in while I stepped out to clean my stamp. I thought it would be okay not to completely shut my door, but she's so smart. She knows to try it, and if it's a really easy to open door. So if I don't close it all the way, she's still out there, right outside my door. So let's see, how best to apply the glitter paint. Or I wonder if maybe I should wait. Because I was going to use this masking fluid on here. And I don't know how that interacts with acrylic paint, which is what this is. I've only read about this. I wonder if it says, do not shake. Doesn't really say anything about what to use it with, but I've only ever read instructions for its use with watercolor paint. And I don't want to risk it, so I'm going to save this for last. And glitter paint. But at least that experiment was a long enough time that this feels totally dry now, so I can start masking it. Oh, I don't have a thumbnail. I tried to get it off just now, and there was like my thumbnail, the dead part came off, so it's like 3 or 4 millimeters of no thumbnail right now. It's not painful or anything, but it's useless. I normally use this thumb for stuff. Alright, let's see. So, it's easier to mask. Takes less time, I guess I could say, if I mask with the tape. Let's see. Mask with the tape as much as possible, and then the remainder do with the masking fluid. So masking fluid has to be painted on, so it's basically like painting all those areas all over again. Try to mask as much as I can with the tape. Okay, I guess I don't need to go that far down. I could go there. Yes, perfect. So just put this piece. I'll save this piece in case I need a little tiny piece somewhere. I have a call to be on. I'll be back if you're still on. Okay, sounds good. I actually might take a break myself and have dinner. Maybe I'll finish with the masking step and then take a break. I'm still feeling pretty good about getting this done today. This masking step may actually be the most time-intensive step left, except for maybe if I want to add little details here and there, and that always takes a little while because I'm just looking around at the piece to see where I could do something. Yes, yes. Oh, glitter. I thought I rinsed my hands off good, but they keep showing up. Okay, I think I got them all. Okay, let's turn it this way. And right here. There. And I guess I'll do one along the side just to hold them down. Make sure everything is covered. I'm actually getting pretty low, so I might have to switch to my roll of black masking tape. Now, since this year is the first time I've ever used masking fluid, this is also the first time right here that I've done masked one area, did painting, and then masked another area after that without unmasking anything. Unmasking. Whew, I guess I can turn my fan all the way off. It was so cold when I got started, but oh, nice and toasty. I'm actually a little bit sweaty. Another piece that I'm saving. Let's see, right there. There. And this piece will be good for, yep, right there with the ears. We'll do the same thing with this one. It's going to be the slightest bit too long. Oops. I ripped off another piece. No, I didn't want you to come off. No! There. There we go. Oh, and I can turn it upside down and use it for this ear. Oh, this bumpy part is no good. I guess I'll paint over that really well with the masking fluid. On the sides of this snow belly. Whew. Fits perfectly right there. Alright, now this snow cat. Whew, my hand stuck to that. Let's get these brushes all out of the way. So put these over here since they're not working out. I love it when I get it just perfect. Nope. Maybe I'll use this one up in the ears. This is also the first time I've done so much masking in a piece. I don't know if I've ever recorded this process before. It would be nice if not, because then it'll be something different. Oh, there it is. There's the end of my tape. Wow, I've had that roll of tape for years. Goodbye, roll of masking tape. You served me well. Okay, let me get out my other roll. pH neutral masking. Where's the start? There we go. Hopefully this works good. Never use this brand or anything. It's just, you know, cheap brand on Amazon. Hopefully I don't regret my frugality. I'm still streaming. Husband just came to see if I was ready for dinner, I think. Yep, it is about dinner time. Want some dinner. It's going to be the last of our Thanksgiving leftovers. There's some mashed potatoes. Well, and we're having fresh green salads too. I don't think this one would be so long. No, I need a sign for my door. This is filming in progress or something. Or I guess just do not disturb would work. Another thing that's good about this heavier weight paper is that it also does much better when you take the masking tape off. The super lightweight cheap papers, you can destroy your painting, physically destroy it, pulling off the tape. hard to tell which way this comes off. Oh, there. See a little piece for the cheek of this one. And I think I'm ready to paint on the masking fluid. I always want to call it liquid mask, but it makes more sense to call it masking fluid. For one, that's what it actually says on here. It says masking fluid, and then it also matches with masking tape. I don't know what it is, so I always want to say liquid mask. And before I start painting on the masking fluid, I want to make sure the tape is as firmly stuck on as possible, so that there's as little chance as possible of the paint getting through some little lump or something. Okay. I've learned to just not bother with this nozzle thing, and I stick my brush directly in here. Another reason why I'm going to end streaming as soon as I'm done putting on this masking fluid is, although I just made a mistake. Not a mistake, but I almost made a mistake, or it would have made things harder. I missed a spot with the masking tape. But, what I was saying, just that second, before I realized my mistake, you have to wash your brush immediately after you're done applying the masking fluid, or else it can dry in your brush and totally ruin it. So I'll have to go out anyway and clean that. So I may as well end my stream and have dinner too. When I paint up here, I'm going to try my best not to get too crazy. Just in case I do, I'm going to tape kind of far down on this. See, how far enough down? It's probably far enough down. So the bottom of the piece is actually going to be like this. This whole part's going to be cut off. Okay, now I'm really ready. Really ready to start masking. Liquid masking. I'm going to be extra careful to really get a lot on purpose right next to the edges of the tape and even on top of the tape, so that they're working together. I don't want any gaps between the tape and the fluid. This is actually liquid latex, so it creates a sort of like a film, but it's super sticky. I want that film to rise up over the tape. And I gotta remember to get these little stick whiskers. I want to be extra careful because I don't want to go outside of the lines or else it'll be masked and paint won't go where I want it. Okay, finish off this snow cat. Another good thing about taking a break after this step is it can get thoroughly dried before I start painting. So try to apply it evenly, but sometimes there's a slightly thicker application here and there. This tiny little bit of hill is exposed. And then the super small part of the barely visible third snowcat on this side. Ooh, hopefully I got that good. Oh, and then this hill. Barely a little tiny curve exposed. There. And next snowcat. One thing I don't like about this masking fluid is that it's sticky. So my hand always sticks to the page after it's dry. Welcome back! Is that electrical tape? Nope, it is regular masking tape, just half size of what you normally see or what I've normally seen, and it was cheapest in black, so I was like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I could totally see why it looks like masking tape or electrical tape on the video though, so it does look just like it. Except in person you can see that masking tape texture. I'm sure it's not showing up on the video at all. Yep, I ran out. This one. Had this one for so long. I don't even remember if I bought it since I've been, moved out on my own as an adult. If I got it while I was still living in my parents' house. It's that old. So old, I don't remember its origin story. I've not seen black masking tape before. Yeah, I never seen it before either in the store, but Amazon had tons of masking tape options. I just had to do a little shopping. I'm like, which one is the best price? Which one is the best amount of tape? Then I had to decide if I wanted the 1 inch or the 1/2 inch. So it kind of overwhelming. Like, I just want some masking tape. Then of course they've got the bundles, like, oh, do you want 5 rolls of masking tape? Like, I don't think I need 5 rolls. 5 rolls for $30. Oh. Sometimes I do get that though. If I see like something that I go through a little faster than masking tape, and it comes in a bundle and it's more in the moment, but since I know I'd be buying more in the future anyway, then I go ahead and get it. Not masking tape. Since it took so long to go through that other roll. It's a little bit hard to see if I am getting this line or not. I'll hold it closer. Oh, yeah. I think it's because the light is reflecting right there. It's really bright. Zend out monk. Jeff is hosting me. Yay! Is he watching me? Are you here? You're here! I love that cute little squishy thing. That icon. Squish. Welcome. Oh, it's hard to see how deep this goes. I can't tell if I'm getting it on my brush or not. This takes a long time, but I really like the effect, so I think it's worth it to do all this masking stuff. Plus, it's super fun to pull it off at the end and see the final result. Ooh, you know what? I missed these stick whiskers. I'm gonna get the stick whiskers. Ooh, my stomach's telling me it's about dinner time too. Well, stomach, you're just gonna have to wait a minute. Wait until I finish masking this piece, and then it'll be break time. And then time to paint some more. I think I really can get this done today. Another call. Aw. Well, I might still be here. If it doesn't take too long. Or if it does, I'm definitely coming back later to do the background. Yay! It is my goal to get my Christmas illustration done this year before December even starts. That feels so great. Just feels like I'll be able to sail through December if I can do this. I do still have 2 more pieces I want to make in December, but my Christmas card illustration is always my biggest thing this time of year. Wouldn't have been doing the Halloween or Thanksgiving ones if not for the Christmas one. Oh, Carletta is hosting me too. Yay! I have 2 hosts. I don't know if I've ever been hosted by 2 people at once. It's a new record. Let's see. Since Bear's tail's already masked, I don't really need a... I already got the snowcat, so I don't need to do the tail again. Now, coming over this side. Okay, that's a little bit of hill. I don't want to miss that. It would look super silly if I pulled the tape off and there's a dark line where there's supposed to be a round hill. Whoa, that is a lot. I don't need that much, jeez. I wonder if I'll be able to pull the tape off first, or if I'll have to scrub off the masking fluid first. Monk, I miss you, Mika. Aw, thank you. I miss you too. It's always nice to see you in my chat. You change your name back to Monk. Should I call you Monk again? I'm so confused. I like your new name though. I like Zen'd Out Monk better than Stressed Out Monk. Yeah, it's much more positive. It's like a you got this kind of name. Did I get this? I don't remember. I don't remember if I did. It doesn't feel sticky, so I'm gonna go over this part just in case. That would be another terrible thing. I paint all this dark background and then the whiskers are in the darkness. No! Be extra careful, precise. Oh yeah, you can see, actually. Well, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but I can see that it's like reflective on the whiskers that I have done. There's top whisker, and do bottom whisker. Ah, that's too much. And I'll continue up the side of the snowcat face. Ooh, it's so shiny right there. Maybe if I turn it this way I can see it better. I need the bright lights, but then it's so harsh on the top of the page. It's hard to see if I have actually gotten an area or not. That's okay. Whatever works for you. Most folks have been saying monk. Okay, well, you know what? I'll just stick with whatever your name happens to be, because that's easier for me since it's right on the screen. If you change it to something totally different, make sure to let me know who you are, because I probably won't recognize you. Do you have some kind of paper on top of the kitties? Well, it's just all masking tape and masking fluid. So I think masking tape is technically made out of paper. It's like sticky paper. This way, putting all this masking stuff on top, I'm going to be able to paint the background. I want to do an aurora borealis type of effect. I don't know if it will actually come out that way, because that's another experiment for me. I've never painted such a thing before. But by masking it all, I can get it behind, you know, make it look like it's behind without having to precisely paint here and precisely paint here. I can just literally paint on top. And then when I remove the mask, it'll remove all that paint that's on top too. But I have to carefully apply the mask in the first place, or else I'll end up with splotches and that won't be good. This is the most ambitious thing I've done with masking so far in my watercolor career. In my history of using watercolor, I've heard of it for years and years and years, masking fluid, but I've never actually used it until this year. Dang it, this piece of tape, I'm gonna have to go over that tape again once the current layer dries, because it's kind of wrinkly and it's sticking up. I tried to stick the brush in there to get some masking fluid inside under the tape. Masking fluid. Describe how you use that, please. Oh, now you see the tape too. Well, let's see. For masking fluid, you need a steady hand for one. Unless you're doing a technique, there are plenty of techniques you can use for it, but for what I use it for, I said for a lot, I paint over precise details. So like these little feathery hairs coming out, I painted exactly over those, or as best I could. And you just paint it on like normal paint, and you don't have to use water or anything. Actually, you shouldn't use water because it will be thinned out and its effectiveness will be reduced. And then you let it dry, and while you're letting it dry, wash your brush immediately, or it will be totally ruined if you leave the masking fluid in it. Luckily, I don't know that from experience. That's something that I read and I was like, oh, okay. We'll learn from someone else's mistake. They actually have a warning about it on this bottle too. But once it's dry, and this particular one, for at least a lighter watercolor painting, you can see that it changes the color. So like Bear is actually white with gray, but he looks kind of yellow, just like these snow cats are all yellow now. So that's how you can tell that it's dried. Plus you can just touch it and it feels dry, it feels sticky. Then you paint with your watercolors on top of it to your heart's content. And depending on the technique you use, you might completely cover it. So for instance, in my favorite watercolor instruction book, they have an example where they first painted, the whole page, and then they used a brush to make like flower designs, like draw flower petals and like the whole flower, leaves and everything, and then paint it again on top so that when they removed it, it was, you could see a flower, sort of like a negative space kind of thing. And I've never tried that yet, but that was a really cool technique that I don't think I would have thought of on my own unless I decided to just play around with this paint for a long time. Or not this paint, this tool, I guess. But I just use it kind of how I use layers in digital art programs, just to keep, the foreground, midground, and background separate so that I can work on them independently. So in the past, I have done stuff where I needed to paint the background, and I would just carefully, like I said earlier, just carefully paint and try to make it look like it matches. I didn't have masking fluid back then. Plus, I wasn't interested in going out to get some and trying it. I just wanted to paint. I didn't want to waste my time getting more stuff. This actually came in an Art Snacks or something. One of those art subscription boxes. So I still never went out and got some. I had it delivered to me by chance. But now that I know about it and now that I've tried it out, I really like it. It hasn't failed me yet. This is my third time using it. Third piece, I guess I should say. And what effect does the tape give? Is there space between the tape that you're painting? Well, the tape is basically to do the same thing as the masking fluid. It's just that by covering these areas with tape, it reduces the amount of time I have to paint the fluid. So the more I can cover with tape, the better. Makes it a little faster. It's serving the exact same purpose. And in fact, in that same watercolor book I was talking about, they have an example of how to use masking tape to get that same sort of like flower effect, but instead of the flower, it was just, get cool lines through your painting. So like say you paint it orange, and then you do some masking tape, and then you paint another color. I don't know what you'd put on top of orange. Maybe put on some a darker red or something, and then you put even more tape on, like maybe going this way, and then do a third color on top of that, and then you take all the paint off, and then you've got all these different colors with the cool design, geometric design made by the tape. I don't usually do stuff like that since I'm more into illustration rather than just art in and of itself, so abstract stuff or non-representational stuff I don't usually do. So I don't know if I ever would have used that technique. I might use it for a background or something in the future. But it was still really cool to see, and it just had the like progress images. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Protects certain regions, correct? Lets you add watercolor to different areas at a time. Yes, that is right. You've got it right. So it's either for protecting what you've already painted and you don't want any more paint on it, or to create a shape without having to draw that shape with paint. But that watercolor book is super good at explaining it. I actually gave it to, not my exact copy, but I bought another copy of the book and gave it to my best friend for her birthday. Like earlier this week, I think it arrived to her, because she's been way into watercolor recently, and she's been asking me different stuff about it. And I learned a lot from that book, so I figured she could have the same teacher as me, I guess, and hear it straight from the horse's mouth, because the guy who wrote the book was like watercolor painter for 30 years or something, like professional, just makes his living off of doing amazing watercolors. So he knew all the techniques. And I still, to this day, turn to that book whenever I want a new idea or need to look up how to do something in a way that will be the most effective. Because even this year I've cracked it open to look at how to stretch my paper and to see their tips on using masking fluid. Let's see, did I get those? Yes, got those. Let's make sure these ones are covered good, these stick whiskers. That adds so much versatility to watercolor. My mind is imagining all sorts of applications. It is really fun to work with. I was always hesitant because I just didn't want to. I think it felt overwhelming at the time. But now that I've tried it out this year, it's just kind of tedious if you're doing something like how I'm doing, but you can use it for all kinds of stuff. All kinds of techniques, cool techniques. Especially if you're just looking to make a cool painting and you're not really worried about making it look an exact certain way when you're done. Like if you just want to experiment and see what kind of cool painting you can get in the end, this will be really, really fun to play with. Whew, good thing I'm almost done because my brush is getting a little stiff, so I really need to wash it off soon. Masking fluid is crazier than I thought. You're welcome. If you ever get any and try it out, you should let me know. Especially if you stream it. I could at least watch the recording if I can't make it live. But even then I can see you on Instagram. If you ever try out masking fluid. I just find physical media so much more interesting. You can get this same effect in digital media and it's a lot faster and easier, but it's not as fun. I guess it's kind of like playing a video game on easy mode when you're actually more skilled than easy mode. And so yeah, like you can finish the game faster, but it's not as fun because there's no challenge. Not that I only do traditional art because of challenge, but that's just one of the other things I like about it. I like digital art too, though. Just prefer the traditional. I actually like how you can't take it back. If you do something you didn't mean to on traditional art, it becomes a puzzle to solve. Like, okay, how am I going to work with this? How am I going to make this look like it was done on purpose? Learning new things is fun. Yes, it is. That's why it was so hard when I was signing up for my classes for spring semester earlier this year. Like, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, I was actually getting my shopping cart filled so I'd be ready on my registration day. And I ended up with like 21 credits and like, I don't know if I can do this. And then it turned out the university charges extra if you go that many credits. Like, I literally can't do this. I can't afford that. There's just so many things to learn. I just love it. I've said for a long time that if I ever win like the big time lottery, I'm just going to become like a lifetime student and just go to college. Just go to classes. Yep, if I needed to paint much more than this with this stuff, I would have had to wash my brush anyway. This is really, it's getting really sticky. The brush is getting sticky. Okay. Did want to go one more time over, pretty thick over this piece of tape. Just make sure there's a complete barrier. I think there might have been somewhere else with a... Yeah, this one has a little lump in it too. An extra thick glob on there. Any more raised pieces? There we go. All right. I like that challenge. I did traditional for 25 years. I just don't have anywhere to store the end results if I did start doing traditional again. Oh, I totally get that. I pack up all my worldly possessions each night, so I'd never see my art. Yep, that is one of the big drawbacks of traditional art. Even now I'm starting to have a little bit of a problem because I'm not sure where I'm going to put all my framed pieces, and in order to put more work into shows, they have to be framed. So of course, putting them into shows, I have to frame them even if they're digital, so I have to print it and frame it. But I've got my 3 illustrations right now that this being the third. I've got 2 of them hanging up on my cork board because I like to see them. I figure I'll keep them all hanging up and keep hanging them up together until I get all 4 done, and then I can see how they all look together. So that's just fun to me. But yeah, finding places to store them is kind of rough. Okay. I think this is good. I think I'm going to take a break here, go have some dinner, let this stuff dry, and then I'll come back later and finish painting the background. Then I'll have to let that dry, then I'll remove all the mask, and then I'll do the final details and I'll be done. So I'm going to go have dinner now. I will be back later. If you can join me again, that'll be super great. But if